This video is brought to you by people who like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You can also support my work by buying me a coffee. The Fellowship of Guelphissauga continues, with the Lord of the Liberals checking in on the progress of his smart city. He met with Lloyd of the Longfields and the mayor to announce spending $21 million of our tax dollars towards the Housing Accelerator Fund. The mayor extended the celebration with a closed-door housing symposium to address the housing cost crisis, whereas a panel talk between the chief economists of the country's big banks had different predictions. They said an increase in standard of living was no longer possible in this country due to the broken immigration system and the real estate market failure. Meanwhile, in the Shire's university, their multi-year million-dollar deficits and cow farts were catching up to them. They're holding Townhall Meetings to state their intent to use Navitas, a for-profit global company, to attract more cash cows and international students. Can Carly of Klassen and the Elder Elves do anything about the housing cost crisis? And will the chief economist's predictions come true? The Shire froze over this weekend as the Lord of the Liberals brought the storm to town. Escorted by his gas-powered motorcade, he pulled into the new homeless hotel being built on Sheldare Crescent to celebrate the Housing Accelerator Fund. With Sophie out of the way, Lloyd of the Longfields kept in close proximity to his man-crush as he announced $21.4 million of our tax dollars being used to eliminate barriers to building housing and fast-track 700 new housing units over 3 years. The mayor was there too, sporting a fresh haircut and his favorite sneakers. Just like Longfields, he was also aroused by the Lord of the Liberals and was ready to go full Yimby mode all over his European-inspired SimCity. This is a true testament to how you have local government, you have federal government, and we need the provincial government as well, trying to help with the housing crisis, the mayor shouted. He wanted to go full Yimby mode right away, as the $21 million made it easier for him to achieve his 18,000 homes pledge to the Big Blue Orc. Get to yes faster, the mayor screamed. In his speech at the podium, the Lord of the Liberals admitted there was no magic solution to housing and was planning to take the multi-layered approach to win the next election. Yes, construction workers and availability of labor is a challenge we're facing, which is why we're continuing to have ambitious immigration targets. Why we continue to make sure that we see growth of Canada as a good thing, as we welcome people around the world, he said. After taking selfies with his fans, the Lord of the Liberals split town before the public knew he was here. Lloyd of the Longfields waved him goodbye and wondered when his man-crush would return. He normally checks in on his smart city once a year, but Lloyd and the mayor couldn't wait that long. They planned another housing symposium later this month in hopes of getting him to return to the Shire. The mayor ordered the Sunshine Listers to send out golden invitations for a 2-day housing symposium in the Shire. On January 30th and 31st, he wants stakeholders to meet and discuss potential remedies to the housing cost crisis. Instead of addressing the market failure caused by huge immigration levels and the monopolization of the real estate market, they plan to discuss other potential remedies to the housing cost crisis. This included the possibility of having designated locations for the tent encampments within the Shire and out of view of the mayor's office window. So who will get the lucky golden ticket to the mayor's housing symposium? Well, that remains a mystery. The symposium won't be open to the public or the media, and its official agenda hasn't been released yet. Meanwhile, outside of the Shire, the chief economist of the land's big banks gathered for a panel talk to discuss the forecast for 2024. Hosted by the Economic Club of Canada, the panel covered topics that the Lord of the Liberals and the Mayor refused to address. As of October 1st, 2023, the Lord of the Liberals has added 455,000 new permanent residents and more than 650,000 new non-permanent residents to this country, according to StatsCan. Jean-François de Parot, Scotiabank's chief economist, said the policy has harmed the country's productivity because it incentivizes companies to invest in labor rather than capital. Betta of Sarancy, TD Bank's chief economist, discussed the housing cost crisis. Rents are rising at about 7% year over year. If you look at the 3-month trend, it's accelerated to 11% annually. It's not going to go away, she said. Whereas Stéphane de Marion, National Bank's chief economist, put it more bluntly when he said the country has fallen into a population trap for the first time. That occurs, he said, when population growth causes labor growth to outpace capital investment, so an increase in standard of living is no longer possible. And that's what we're seeing in the Shire. Whereas CIBC's chief economist, Avery of Shenfield, specifically pointed fingers at the creatures of the province. The provinces have cut back funding to universities and post-secondary institutions. Just charge those immigrant students more, he said. During the Creatures of the Province's annual pre-budget consultations, the Council of Ontario Universities warned that about half the province's schools are running deficits, so they might have to take Shenfield's advice. Back at the Shire's Ivory Tower, the fat cats at the university were forced to deal with the looming public sector collapse predicted by the chief economists. They're considering partnering with Navitas, an Australian for-profit company, to help them bring hundreds more international students to deal with their multi-year million-dollar deficits. Charging $34,000 per year, students at Navitas are taught first-year courses, and if they do well enough, they can attend the Shire's university as a transfer student in second year. Navitas also offers language support programs to international students, costing $3,000, and additional foundation-type courses for an extra $24,000. The university's fat cats were excited for the profitable partnership with Navitas, according to Byron of Sheldrick, the Associate Academic Vice President. Our perspective is that international students, when they come here, they really enrich the campus, they enrich our classes, they enrich the learning experience for everyone. And so we would really like to see that increase, he said. That's something we have struggled to do. Other universities have done a lot better than us, he explained, referring to Conestoga College's $389 million in tuition revenue last year. But not everyone is on board with the enriching partnership with Navitas. The university's faculty association called the partnership potentially exploitative and worried that academic standards were being compromised, similar to Conestoga College. They formed a committee to oppose the partnership. Herb of Kunz, who just like the tax sign guy is another person in the Shire with better mathematics skills than the mayor, called it exploitative to international students. Shoshana of Jacobs, a professor and member of the university's senate, said, "No matter what the specifics are, for me, it's a bad deal. It is a private, for-profit organization." She explained how the partnership would signify the privatization of education slowly creeping into the public model. There's no boundary on the creep that can happen once you let those companies into our campuses, she predicted. Managing their cash cow programs has been difficult for the Shire's university as they deal with their million-dollar deficits. But one program aimed at reducing the methane from cow burps and farts was awarded with the university's Innovation of the Year award for falling in lockstep with the dairy cattle industry's goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2050. The team developed a national genetic evaluation to identify dairy cattle with traits that help reduce methane emissions, which are known to contribute to climate change, according to the United Nations. The university's fat cats viewed the program as a cost-cutting measure to alleviate their deficits, since they won't have to worry about getting fined over cow farts once David Messer, the manager of the Shire Smart Cities office, is successful at implementing the WEF's carbon credit digital currency. At the same time, other predictions by the chief economists were manifesting in the Shire. Several new tragedies have contributed to lowering the standard of living for the Shire's inhabitants. For those living near Forest Street, such as Heather of Thompson and her daughter, they had their standard of living lowered by the automated speed cameras located there. In the first 3 months of the cameras being installed, there was a total of 2,275 speed infractions, with the corporation of the Shire receiving around $30,000 in revenue through the private company that manages them. Heather received $740 in tickets from driving an average of 46 kilometers on Forest Street, but she wasn't aware of that until getting the tickets in the mail a month later. Her daughter also received $1,100 in tickets since the cameras were installed. The Elder Elves have heard numerous complaints about the flawed ticketing system, which they say is the most common email they received last year. Whereas in the growing tent encampments downtown, an unfortunate fire left one homeless man even more homeless. In the middle of the night, his propane heater went kaboom, and the fire demolished his tent. When the fire department arrived, his tent was fully engulfed in flames and was rivaling the Albion for being the biggest dumpster fire in town. Luckily, no one was injured from the fire, and the crew at Sir Edward's bench helped the man rebuild his life from the rubble. On the other side of downtown, the standard of living was also lowering for those enjoying their retirement in Norfolk Manor. The building's owner said it will be changing into a care home instead of a retirement home, and stripping back services like in-house medical care and recreational activities. The elderly residents won't have to move out, but they will receive significantly less services, including in-home medical care, even though their accommodation charges will remain the same. Residents who require medical care would either need to pay out of their own private arrangements, switch to another retirement home offering those services, or move into the tent encampments downtown. Can Carly of Klassen and the Elder Elves do anything about the housing cost crisis? And will the chief economist's predictions come true? Stay tuned here to see. This video is brought to you by people who like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You can also support my work by buying me a coffee.